I left town for 5 days expecting to come home to the same quiet property I had owned for years. I was visiting family several states away, and before leaving, I checked the locks, walked around the property, and made sure everything was secure. Nothing seemed unusual. The yard was clean, the fence was intact, and the trees along the rear property line were exactly where they had always been. When I returned, I knew something was wrong before I even parked the car. There was a bulldozer beside my driveway. I slowed down and looked toward the back of the property. Several trees were missing. The ground had been scraped away. A large section of my side yard had been flattened. For several seconds, I simply sat in my vehicle trying to understand what I was seeing. Then I got out. The bulldozer operator was gone, but construction stakes were everywhere. Orange tape was tied around trees. A pile of gravel sat near the property line. Part of my fence had been removed. I called the HOA immediately. The president answered. I asked why construction equipment had been on my property. She told me the HOA had authorized emergency drainage work. I asked who gave them permission. She said the HOA didn't need permission because the area was part of a community drainage corridor. I told her that was false. She said their records proved otherwise. I demanded copies. They sent me an old map. My attorney examined it. The map showed a drainage easement, but it was much narrower than the area the HOA had cleared. More importantly, the easement did not give them unlimited authority to remove trees, relocate fences, or reshape the land. I asked the HOA to stop. They refused. So we started documenting everything. Photographs, survey measurements, contractor invoices, county records, property tax maps. And then my neighbor called me. He asked if I knew his wildlife camera had been pointed toward the rear of my property. I didn't. He checked the footage. A few minutes later, he sent me a video. The footage showed the bulldozer entering my property. It showed workers removing my fence. It showed trees being cut down. Then, several minutes later, the HOA president arrived. She walked around the work area. She spoke with the contractor. She pointed toward the area being cleared. Then she left. There was no confusion. There was no accidental entry. She knew exactly where the work was happening. My attorney watched the footage twice. Then he said, "This changes everything." We filed an emergency request to stop further work. The HOA suddenly changed its story. They claimed the contractor had misunderstood the boundary. But the video showed the president personally inspecting the work. The HOA then claimed the work was necessary because of flooding. We asked the county whether there was an emergency drainage order. There wasn't. The county had not authorized the work. The drainage easement existed, but the HOA had exceeded its rights. The court ordered the HOA to stop immediately. During the hearing, the judge asked whether the association had permission to remove the trees. The HOA attorney said the association believed it did. The judge asked whether they had written permission. No. A recorded easement? No. A county order? No. Then the judge asked why the president appeared in the video. The HOA attorney couldn't explain. The footage became central evidence. The court ordered the HOA to restore the property. They had to replace the fence. They had to repair the damaged soil. They had to compensate me for the destroyed trees. They also had to cover certain legal costs. But the most satisfying part came later. The HOA held a meeting to explain what had happened. I attended. The president tried to describe the incident as an unfortunate misunderstanding. I brought the video. I connected my laptop to the projector. The room went silent. The footage played. Nobody needed an explanation. Everyone could see what had happened. Afterward, several homeowners approached me and said they had never realized how much authority the board believed it had. The president eventually resigned. The management company was replaced. And the property was restored. The trees couldn't be replaced immediately, but we replanted them. The fence was rebuilt. The ground was